So we're gonna take a look at what Zac Efron eats in a day, because things like this come out from Men's Health or maybe in the magazine and you read it and see, oh, this is what he eats and he looked like that in that movie. I wanna follow his diet so I can look like that. But we're gonna take a look at why that's not gonna be the case for you.
I guess the philosophy around my current diet is intermittent fasting mixed with getting enough nutrition to sort of sustain me throughout the day.
Intermittent fasting, that seems to be what a lot of Hollywood stars do.
Did something called intermittent fasting.
And that's an easy way to reduce calories, because if you're eating in this window, 16-hour fast, 8-hour window, the idea is that you'll eat less and so you'll lose weight. This isn't necessarily for losing weight, this is for him maintaining his physique, what it sounds like. But it is easy to get really hungry and binge during your eating window, so you have to be aware of calories in versus calories out, because you can fast all you want, but then if you only eat for 1 hour and you eat 5,000 calories, you're still gonna gain weight.
I started intermittent fasting just after I stopped being vegan. My body wasn't processing the vegetables in the right way. So I decided to stop it and try something new. Intermittent fasting has been really helpful with that.
It's a really good point. You know, there's all kinds of diets out there you can try. For me, I personally just like to be mindful of what I eat. I make substitutions for various things that I like so that it's not high in calorie and I can eat more and be full. I've got lots of videos on the channel, different recipes, breakfasts, fast food place I go to, all that type of stuff. But if you try a diet and you don't like it, then do something different. There's not one way to do everything. Figure out what works for you in your lifestyle.
I think probably the one role that I had to change the most for was probably Baywatch. In that movie, I adopted a really, really specific eating regimen. Clean fish or meat with sweet potatoes, like that. I just did that the entire film. So that was the most extreme I'd ever gone. I think I was in ketosis that entire film.
See, this is what we're talking about here, where he says for this role, he ate very specific foods, which yeah, you eat the same thing every day. It's really easy to track of how your body's doing. You don't like eat a pizza and then bloat up and hold a lot of water for a few days. I've never seen Baywatch, but I've seen the previews and stuff. I know what he looked like in the movie. But the reason that following that diet isn't gonna make you look like that, just eating some kind of lean meat or some steak and sweet potatoes, what they don't tell you in here is that he was actually taking some PEDs. He was taking some diuretics, and what that does is it flushes water out of your system. It is not healthy to be dehydrated, but if you want to look the way he did in that movie, you can't have that water all in your body. And we actually see from another interview on the same stuff from Entertainment Tonight. The Baywatch look, I don't know if that's really attainable, which it's not, because if you're having to take drugs to make yourself look like that, not everyone can do it, because that's not natural. You can't naturally make your body be depleted of all that water, even if you just don't drink. Like, well, that's really unhealthy for one, but you can't maintain that perpetually. There's just too little water in the skin, like it's fake, it looks CGI'd. And that required Lasix, which that is a powerful diuretic to achieve the look, so I don't need to do that. I much prefer to have an extra, 2 to 3% body fat. If you get too low in body fat, mess up your hormones, make you feel bad, all that type of stuff, be hungry all the time. But when you take diuretics, it's one thing if you're like Thor and you're peaking for this one shirtless scene where you gotta look your best, you're pumped up, you do a peak week, all that type of stuff. But in Zac's case in Baywatch, I'm assuming he was probably perpetually shirtless the entire movie, so they're filming for 2, 3, 4 months and he's constantly taking diuretics. It's really unhealthy, and that's probably gonna mess with your mind too, because aside from just feeling terrible from having such low body fat, you're also dehydrated, and I've never taken any of those, but I do know what it's like to feel dehydrated the last day and a half of a peak week when you cut out water. It doesn't feel good, so that combination there is just not healthy. So even if you do eat like he does, you're not gonna have that look, even if you get extremely lean, because you're gonna be holding water under your skin rather than how he's basically just skin and muscle. Back to Men's Health.
I give myself permission now to sort of let up and eat what I need to eat. If I'm craving something, I'll just have it.
You need to find foods you like. Even if you're not following a diet, you can still eat the stuff you like in moderation or make substitutes, and you can eat those things every day and not gain weight. So you just gotta learn some tricks, some substitutions, that type of stuff, and just be mindful of, hey, I'm gonna have some pizza, but I don't have to eat the whole box. Maybe if you have trouble controlling that, eat some pizza with someone else where you share a box. So, okay, now I'm only gonna eat half at the most, or get a personal pizza, something that just helps you satisfy that craving without going crazy and binging.
What's harder, the diet or the working out? I've got training pretty locked in. The diet kind of does the finishing touches. Diet will take you to the next level.
You can work out all you want, and a lot of people do go to the gym but don't look the way they want because they don't realize that a lot of it is diet. You know, you go to the gym to get stronger, to be healthy, but your diet is what controls the way you look. You can be super strong, but be 25% body fat and not be able to see hardly any of your muscles. Or you can cut down and you can be at 10% body fat, or crazy like him, like 5-6% body fat in Baywatch. You'll probably feel terrible at that point, but you'll be able to see the muscle. So how you look is based on what you eat. Training does come in to a certain extent, because if you don't work out at all, you're just gonna look really skinny. You gotta build the muscular base if you wanna have that look. And you know, he was taking diuretics for the role. So you could say, well, if he's taking those drugs, he could be taking other things, testosterone, PEDs, all that type of stuff. But to me, his physique doesn't look indicative of like being huge, tons of muscle. Like if you look at Thor in the last movie, it's ridiculous how big he got. Whereas Zac was just really, really lean. You could get like that just by going to the gym, pushing yourself hard, and getting really lean. Once again, not the total look of Baywatch where it's like paper thin skin, but just that level of leanness.
Toughest diet I've ever done for a role. Probably just not eating. I've done that a couple times.
It's probably what he was doing for Baywatch, just not eating, because if you want to get that lean, it takes a toll on you. You gotta not eat and skip meals, which is gonna make you lose muscle too, so it's kind of counterintuitive. Once you get to a certain level of leanness, once you go past that, it's just getting unhealthy, and you're probably not gonna be attracting any girls' attention. If that's what you're going for, dudes are just gonna think you look cool, and who cares, because you feel terrible, and you got a bunch of guys saying you look cool at the gym.
Have I ever had a cheat meal with Rock? We ate a ton of food during Baywatch, tremendous amounts of food. Like he'll eat like twice the amount of protein I have in a day, and a huge thing of carbs, and he'll just have it like in one 5-minute period between a day.
How much protein should you have in a day? If you're wanting to build muscle optimally, up to 1 gram per pound of body weight, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, you know, whatever works for you. I just tend to shoot for the 1 gram to make sure I'm getting as much as I can to help with that process. And the same thing if you're cutting, make sure you're eating plenty of protein to maintain the muscle you have, as well as working out to give your body a reason to hold on to that muscle.
Favorite carbohydrate to eat? I feel good when I have bananas and when I have sweet potatoes. I think I get the most bang for my buck out of those ones.
Favorite carb? It's not something like bread or anything like that. It's fruit and vegetables. Go figure, you know? People might be afraid of, oh, I can't have fruit because it has sugar, it's fructose, I can't have sugar, I'm cutting sugar out of my diet. Fruit is natural, it's healthy, it's good for you. It's good for desserts too, because if you get to the point where you're eating cake all the time, you go eat a banana and it's like, oh, it's just a banana. But if you cut out a bunch of those extra sweets, and then a lot of times I'll have strawberries or blueberries for dessert, it's really good, especially if you get the really ripe ones. So those types of things are good for you. So carbs aren't bad. If you're a keto person, then sure, don't have your carbs. But to me, have the carbs, have things that are good and healthy. Here comes the meals.
So typically I'll break fast around 10:30 or 11, do some cardio. First meal
He must be watching Thomas DeLauer, fasting and then having some fasted cardio.
of the day. Usually starts with bone broth. I really love bone broth. It's
There's even more Thomas DeLauer for you. He always talks about fasting, do your cardio fasted so you burn more fat. You're in that fasted state when you might burn more fat, but then you go eat food afterwards and you stop that whole process. But you know, it's all about calories at the end of the day. If you are eating 2,500 calories a day to lose weight or maintain it, and you do fasted cardio and then eat all your food, or you eat, then do cardio, if you do the same amount of work, it's not gonna make a difference.
some sort of veggies with a really clean source of protein, whether it's chicken, beef, venison, elk, anything.
So it sounds like a lot of clean foods, which isn't necessarily what it takes to achieve a certain look. A lot of actors and stuff, maybe they just don't know, their trainers don't know, they just automatically put them on clean foods, rice, and all that stuff, which is good for you, but it's all about calories. So you can make different things like French toast. I have videos on that. I have pizza substitutes, all kinds of foods I eat all the time that might not be clean, but they're lower in calorie and they taste good and they help maintain the physique that you want. But it seems to be all or nothing. You know, they do the super clean diet, and then like you said, on certain movie sets or he's in Thailand, he just ate everything he wanted everywhere. So it's not like this is the only thing he eats.
Then yeah, I usually have my highest carbohydrate meal sort of in the evening. That's usually another really good source of meat and healthy carbohydrates.
See, I prefer to do the opposite. I would personally have the higher carb meals in the morning if I even cared about splitting those up, but having the higher carbs in the morning so that I have more energy for when I work out, when I lift, to push harder, and then taper off throughout the day and eat less and less, rather than working out on an empty stomach, maybe being weaker, and then slowly eating more and more throughout the day. it just seems kind of backwards to me. And once I switched that around, because I used to do that, I did all the fasting stuff for a couple of years. When I switched that around, started having a bigger carb breakfast in the morning, my workouts got a lot better.
Yeah,
The cheat meal, cheat day. Just keep in mind, if you're having to have consistent cheat meals, cheat days in your diet, it's probably not sustainable, or it's too healthy.
Days I love to eat massive amounts of pancakes. If I'm doing pancake day, it's a lot of pancakes. I'll go through a whole box of cardiac cakes. If I'm gonna have a cheat meal, I still want it to be at least semi-good for you.
I'm glad you brought that up. He has pancakes. It doesn't just mean he eats the highest carb calorie pancakes out there. Kodiak cakes, that's what I use. My pancake recipes, it's really good. It has more protein than all the other standard pancake box powders. So that's it, a little insight into that. Just remember, you can try to follow the type of eating they do, but if you get too strict, you're probably gonna fail and then go into the cheat meals like he said. And if you do that more and more and binge, your weight is just gonna stay the same or continue to go up if you're trying to lose weight. So keep in mind, you're not gonna look like that unless you eat nothing and you take the drugs that he did, which is unhealthy. So shoot for realistic goals, try to be healthy. That's what it's all about. That's what fitness is about. But people, once they get into it, initially it's good because you wanna improve your health, but then you start comparing yourself to everyone else and then think that you're never good enough. So put down the phone, take pictures of yourself, compare yourself to yourself, then put down the phone, forget about the people on Instagram. Speaking of that, at Camber Fitness, I'm on Instagram, so when you do pick the phone back up, check me out there, and I'll see you in the next one.